what I want to talk about is, I say kooky media times because there's so many things that are just kooky crazy. One of the things the MAGA movement did that's so brilliant is there's a term that many of these podcast hosts started saying, RINO, Republican in name only. Now, for those of us of a certain age, it's funny because many of these people who call themselves Republicans or MAGA, whatever they are now, would not have been in that a Republican in the days of Ronald Reagan. And just the other day, speaking of media, I saw one George Will. Remember George Will? Now, for some of you young people, you won't remember him. And this is what I'm saying about getting older. I see how it works. You get older and your time kind of goes and you're not relevant anymore. So all the information that you have gets kind of like reimagined or hidden away. So George Will was kind of the poster child of conservatism in America and the Republican Party. So George Will, I'm sure I'm not going to interview him, but I know if you ask him about that term, he would laugh out loud because many of these MAGAs who say RINO would never, ever be invited to a Republican event during the Reagan years when Cheney was running things, when the Bushes were running things. You would not even be invited. You're not allowed here. We just need you for your vote sometimes, but you cannot come in here. You can't have the caviar. You can't come into the country club. You're not a Republican, okay? We're not for you poor whites. We're only for elites and wealthy, okay? So keep it moving. And so the Bannons, how Bannon looks alone, he would never get an invitation. Donald Trump will because he had the money, but not because of who he is. And so it's just interesting. Anyway, I saw George Will the other day on, I guess, his podcast, railing against Donald Trump. Of course, because he's making us look bad. This level of ignorance is making the traditional Republicans look bad, especially those like a George Will, who, again, was an intellectual, considered himself an intellectual, was respected, and now he's looking at this. I'm sure he's like, what a bunch of bozos. But many of the values are being pushed through, though, so that's all that matters.